Hi, welcome all. This is the class third for the budget. I already made two videos on budget. The first class is about what is budget, the meaning of budget, and the second class is about the tax. What is tax? What are direct tax? What is indirect tax? Types of tax. I did in the last two classes. Okay, and now the class is about the budget. Means budget means its structure, what it compose. Okay, what is the structure of the budget? Okay, this you will understand better if you know the meaning of budget. Why we need to study the budget. It is covered in the first and two classes. Okay, I refer you to go to those two videos and then come and watch this video. You will get a very clear picture, because this is the channel for the crystal clarity on the concept or topics. Okay, let's begin the topic. I just introduced what is budget. Budget means, they are the receipts of government, expenditure of the government, as you see now. Means for a year. Okay, let's take an example, 2023 and 2024. This is the this is the ongoing year. For this year, the government estimates the receipts. Okay, receipt means through what ways, through how many ways the government can earn the revenue. That is what the government calculate in a upcoming year. Means ongoing, not upcoming year. It is an ongoing year. And also it estimates what are the expenditure of the government, what are the what are the policies, schemes it want to bring for the people, welfare of the people. Okay, means totally I want to say, say the budget is the estimated receipt and expenditure of the government for the ongoing year. Okay, 20 means it estimates the very beginning of the financial year. Okay, for example, 23-24, the financial year begins at 1st April of 2023 and last at 31st March 2024. It plans year. This 1st April it plans year, and that ends in 31st March of next year. Okay, so it pre so this is the pre-plan. Okay, pre-plan. That pre-plan need to get the assent of the parliament. Then only the government the government put the tax on the people and take the expenditure for the various projects. Okay, now I directly jump into the structure of the budget. Means what are the components the budget has. Okay, you are seeing now it is I think you are getting confusion by seeing this sheet. You will get I am very assured that you will get a very clarity on this topic at the end of this video. Okay, I think this video is going to be very lengthy, maybe 20 or 25 minutes or more than that, because it needs a very clear cut explanation. Okay, let's begin. If we take the budget of the budget, I will also show the budget document of this year government. I will show later. Now let's begin the main concept. The budget, if we take the budget, okay, now the both center and state can put the or frame the budget for a year, both center and state. Okay, if we take the any budget, center or state, it has two components. Mainly, broadly, it has two components. One is receipt and another one is expenditure. Receipt and expenditure. Okay, the receipt means these are revenues. I already noted down that this is the another I because this is why I'm turning the pages is this is very it is not clear. Okay, it is difficult for you to understand, and this is very easy for you to understand because I have very cursorily mentioned the main terms. Okay, me the again I will say I would say the receipt part and expenditure part. Receipt means these are the ways the government earns, means earning, means it government gains something. Expenditure means spending money, government spending. Okay, means budget. I already said budget means receipt of government, expenditure of government. Again, the component has same receipt and expenditure. Okay, a receipt, you should know what is receipt. These are revenues for the government. Revenues means source of income. Okay, through what ways the government earn money, that is what receipt. And another one is expenditure. These are the ways through which government spend the money. It is getting here, it is spending here. Okay, these are two components. If we going to see what are the ways through which government earns, that is received, there are two types. Again, there are two types. One is revenue receipt and capital receipt. Okay, means receipt is two types. Means revenues, the government getting the revenues in two ways. One is revenue receipt and capital receipt. You will understand what is revenue, what is capital receipt. From now onwards, you are going to see the two words. One is revenue and capital. Here also you can see revenue and capital. Okay, I suggest you to remember what is revenue and what is capital. Leave it this part. Just understand what is revenue and what is capital. Revenue means often. Just remember this word. You will understand while explaining these words. Okay, and capital means only once. This is often, very often transaction. You can remember now like this. And capital means only once the transaction happens. Because why I am using the transaction here? I am talking with the money, that is budget. Okay, revenue receipt and capital receipt. Revenue receipt means tax revenue and non-tax revenue. Okay, tax revenue, you will the government put the tax on every goods and services. For example, GST, for example, custom duty, the indirect tax on petrol, like that. It put a tax. Okay, this is mean you will understand now what is revenue. Tax, the government gets the tax every day, every month, every year. Means transaction happening repetitively every day. For example, if you buy the goods now, you are paying the tax now today, and if you buy the tomorrow, again the transaction happens like this every day. Okay, means repetitively the transaction payment of the tax or payment of the money to the government is happening. Transaction is going to very often. Why am I using the often? This is why. Okay, non-tax revenue. Okay, you will understand the capital means here. You will understand. You are now just understand what is revenue receipt. I will explain. Revenue receipt means these transactions happen very repetitively. In that, there is a tax revenue and non-tax revenue. Tax revenue means these are the revenues government earns by putting the tax on the goods and services. Yes or no? That is what we call indirect taxes. For example, GST. The tax may be direct tax or indirect tax. Direct tax means corporate tax on businesses, like, and income tax, personal income tax. You will understand what is direct tax and indirect tax in the class 2 of this playlist budget. Okay, direct tax means tax revenue. Tax revenue means there are two ways the government earns tax. One is direct tax and indirect tax. If we see the budget document of this year, what that mentions what are the taxes government put. Your review. Okay, just see, this is the revenue receipt. Yes, revenue receipt. In that revenue receipt, tax revenue, non-tax revenue. Okay, you just see revenue receipt. In that tax revenue, this is what non-tax revenue. Okay, what are tax revenue? What are the corporate tax? Means on businesses, business transaction. Means for example, Jio, it is a business. It is putting the tax every year that company need to pay. Tax on income. This is the personal income tax. If the person's income is more than 7.5 lakh, he has to pay the tax. That is income tax. And this is wealth tax. These three are direct tax. Means person has to pay directly to the government. And other taxes are custom, union excise duties, service tax, GST, CGST, IGST, GST. These are indirect tax. Okay, you will I am very clearly explained what is direct and indirect tax in the class 2 of this playlist. You can go and watch if you are interested to know. Okay, this is direct tax you will get. And indirect tax, what are the indirect taxes government putting? This is actually central government budget. Okay, and non-tax revenue means interest receipt. Interest receipt means the government, central government gives loan to states. If the state in need of financial assistance, if the state needs the money, then central government give loan to the states. Okay, after receiving the loan, the states pay the interest oftenly. These are what? Interest receipts. Again I am saying, why the revenue receipt? This comes under revenue receipt because the transaction is very often. Okay. Next, what are dividend and profits? Dividend means dividend and profit means these are also, this is the one of the way through which government earns money. Dividend means the central government has its own companies like Hindustan Petroleum, means public sector undertakings, public sector BSN for example, public sector undertaking PSUs. These are directly run by the central government. If these get the profits, these are going to the government revenue. Okay, and external grants means the government sometimes receives the grants from the foreign countries. For example, foreign countries and foreign institutions. For example, World Bank. World Bank gives the loan, not a loan, grants. Grants means it is not necessary to give back. Okay, if for example, World Bank gives somewhat, I don't know exact figure. The World Bank funded the Swachh Bharat. Okay, that is grant. For example, if I say 1 billion, it was grant to the government. It was also a receipt. It is also a source of money for government. Okay, external grants means these are the grants received from the foreign countries or foreign institutions. These are also makes the revenue pool of the government. And other non-tax revenue means for example, fines, penalties, like this. Okay, it collects every time. These are also go to the central government revenue. And receipts from the union territories. Union territories are directly controlled by central government, directly ruled by the government, so that anything which earns in the union territories by the government, these are also going to the government revenue pool. Okay, these are what revenue receipt of the government. In that revenue receipt, tax revenue, non-tax revenue. In tax revenue, if I tax revenue, in that tax revenue, direct tax and indirect tax, and other one is the non-tax revenue. In that, these are all comes. Okay, this document you get in the Google. If you type and search, that is indiabudget.com, you will get the document of this. Okay, tax revenue, you will clear now. I think you are clear about the revenue receipt. Then what is the capital receipt? Okay, earlier mentioned the only once transaction happens. Okay, in that, what debt creating receipt and non-debt creating receipt. Okay, you will understand now. Let me see the, where is that? Yeah, here is capital receipt, non-debt receipt and debt receipt. Okay, what are non-debt receipt? Non-debt means here the government receiving the, or I would say in a other way. Okay, let us understand what are the components, what are the things included in the non-debt receipt. Recoveries of loans and advances. Earlier, here you will see, here you'll what you see now. Yeah, here I am already explained here. Interest receipt means government give the loan to the states. Okay, and that for that loan state need to pay the interest receipts. Okay, oftenly this, whenever this loan paid back to the central government by the state, that is what recovery of loans. Okay, state which get the loan from the central bank, after some time it return to the central government. That's all. Means here the transaction is only one time. Means if the state return the loan to the central government, that's all. There is no interest payment, there is no any other payment need to pay by the state government. That's all. Completion of the transaction. That is why I'm saying these capital receipts are taken place only one time. Okay, this is what recovery of loans means. Government gives the loan to the state government very oftenly, I would say. Okay, if they are in need, because states are whenever the states in distress condition, economic condition is very poor, the central government has a responsibility to keep those states from the danger, from away from the danger. Okay, that's why it gives loans to the state. Okay, and other receipts means here disinvestment will come. Okay, disinvestment. What is disinvestment? Disinvestment means, I am already said, there are PSUs, means public sector undertakings, means these are run by the government. Okay, here divide and profit, while explaining I mentioned the PSU. These are run by the government. Whenever the government sells this PSU, for example, recently Air India, it sells the Air India stake, means share, it sells the shares. Whenever it sells, it gets the fund, it gets the money in return. Okay, transaction is only one, means if the government sells the shares, that's all. It is not a part of government, then onwards it is a part of private, means who buys that product or who buys that share. Okay, that only one times. Air India. Okay, disinvestment, that's all. If we can see now, these are not creating any debt. You will understand next. I will come to this point. Non-debt. Why I am calling why they are putting these two in non-debt receipt. After this, you should understand this. These are debt receipt. You should know one thing. There is. I will again come to the first section there is receipt and expenditure. Okay, if expenditure is 200 rupees, if I take an example, expenditure of the government for a year is 200 rupees. The government getting the revenue, it is about 100 rupees only. So it is a shortage of amount for the government. So what the government do? The government is go to the market or to the people or to the foreign country to get a loan or borrow the money from the public, foreign countries, from banks, many things, because it has estimated its expenditure for the year. It need to get the money. Okay, that's why it was going to get the money from the public as a loan. Okay, these while after borrowing these, government after borrowing the loan, these are called debt. Means government need to pay back this amount in future. Yes or no? These are what debt receipt means. These are creating the debt to the central government. Debt means it has to pay back in future. Okay, but here you can see recovery of loans and disinvestment. These are not creating any debt to the central government after recovery of loans, because these are actually the amount of central government the state pay back. These are not creating any debt to the central government. Means central government need not to pay back this amount when state returns. Okay, and if you see disinvestment, if the central government sells the shares of the PSUs, then it gets the money. It need not to pay back because it sells its shares, its company shares. Okay, that's why these are called non-debt receipt, and these are debt receipt means borrowing. Borrowing may be in the public, within the country or outside the country. Okay, why government borrows? Because to meet its expenditure, because to have money to expenditure. That's why. So this is all about receipt, means the various ways through which government earns. Okay, you can take the screenshot of this and read. Okay, revenue receipt, this is the amount estimated, gross tax revenue. Okay, and non-tax revenue, this is the amount. Okay, and capital receipt, this is the amount. Debt receipt, this is the amount. If we totally sum these, or if we had all these, we are getting the revenue receipt, means receipt total, because capital receipt and revenue receipt totally included, means both are included, because receipt has revenue receipt and capital receipt. If we add all these, you are getting the receipt of the government for the year. Okay, then here you see what is the total receipt. This is the amount. What is that amount? 45,03,097 lakh crore. Okay, lakh crore. This is the total receipt. So now the government have money. Okay, I will again explain what are revenue receipt, tax revenue, non-tax revenue. It is in the budget document very clear now. Revenue receipt, tax revenue, non-tax revenue, capital receipt, recovery of loans, other receipt means disinvestment and borrowings. Okay, this is the complete picture on the receipt of the government. Now the government have money, it is going to expend. Through what ways it is going to expend. The expenditure part is very easy. Okay, again in the revenue, in the expenditure part has two component. One is revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. Okay, again I will say the revenue means often Capital means only once. Means transaction happening very oftenly, very periodically. Capital means only once. Then what is revenue expenditure and capital expenditure? Revenue expenditure means these are not creating any asset. Asset means any buildings, any infrastructure, like that. Means then what this expenditure mean? These expenditure, for example, giving salary to the people, public officials, public who are working in the public, who are working in the government, salaries. Okay, these are not creating any asset. Okay, salaries and welfare schemes, like that, revenue expenditure. And also there is one thing, interest payment. Okay, what is interest? It is also not creating any asset or infrastructure. Okay, what is interest payment? I am already explained that government borrows the money. Yes or no? Government borrows the money. Why borrows? To meet the expenditure. Because of the shortage of the money, it borrows the money. After borrowing, government need to pay the interest, because you are giving money to the government is just because to earn interest. Because the government comes to you and borrows the money from you. You are giving the money to the government is because of it's because you know the government will pay interest in future for that money, for your money. Okay, that is what interest payment means. Government has to pay interest for its borrowing. This is what revenue expenditure. The interest has to pay oftenly. That is what revenue expenditure. These are not creating any asset. Okay, then what is capital receipt? Capital receipt means these are creating the asset to the nation. For example, road means government allotted some amount to the construction of road, to the building the ports and railways. Okay, like this. These are creating, for example, metro constructions. Okay, these are creating the infrastructure, these are creating the buildings. Okay, these are called capital expenditure. Okay, expenditure part is very easy. Revenue expenditure, capital. These are not creating asset, these are creating the asset. Okay, if we see the budget document, you will, yeah, total expenditure. Here you can see 45,03,097 is the total receipt, and total expenditure is also same. Okay, then where government expends, this is revenue, means for the paying the salaries, schemes, like that. Okay, interest payment, paying the interest for the borrowing. And one more thing, grants in aid for creation of the asset, means the central government give grants to the state. Means here these are not loan, these are grant. State need not to pay back in future. Okay, these are grants for creating the asset. For example, metro construction. For example, if I take the example of Bengaluru, the central government pay the amount to this Karnataka government for construction of metro. These are grants. Okay, these are maybe grants. Like this way, for the creation of the assets. Okay, road construction, like that. So many things. Construction of capital assets. It may give the grants to the government, state government. Okay, then capital account means these are for creation of the assets. This is totally about, it is a very lengthy class, I would say. Okay, this is about the budget. You should look on the book after watching this video to get a more clarity. Okay,